All right, Nehemiah chapter 1, let's call this one Don't Be the Reason for Unnecessary Risk, because we are going to see Nehemiah enter the picture in the context of Ezra trying to repair the damage done by the people of Israel, going right back into the same relationships that got them in trouble in the first place. And it is actually the most recent iteration of a pattern in Israel's history where up from Egypt, when they were first delivered into a land of their own, a man by the name of Balaam was hired to curse them, but he could not curse them, so he ended up counseling their enemies to send them some women with ulterior motives. Likewise, once they got over that, Jehoshaphat was a great king during the divided kingdom. He was a king of Judah. During a time when, even though Israel had more tribes, they could not invade and overcome Judah, they simply convinced Jehoshaphat to create peace by intermarrying with Ahab's line of kings. And after Jehoshaphat died, even though he was a great king, Ahab's descendants eventually ended up taking over the throne of Judah. And so likewise, Ezra, being a man skilled in the law of God and likewise quite possibly versed in Israel's history, realized the danger in a situation where Israel's enemies in the land could not defeat them in Persia's courts. They were able to actually send them women that had ulterior motives that had the same potential to derail their success. Thus, Nehemiah enters, much like Jehoshaphat. Even though he was able to keep it together during his life, after he was gone, the damage was still done with his intermarriage into Ahab's line. Likewise here, Nehemiah, as he gets a chance to see one of his brothers coming back from the land of Israel, asks him how it's going, and it's not good. And so even though the book of Ezra seems to end up with Ezra effectively ending those unhealthy relationships, we're seeing that by the time Nehemiah gets a report back from the land, the people of Israel are still struggling to recover. And that's going to create an opportunity for him to do something similar to what Ezra did in his time of seeming to feel overwhelmed by the condition of Israel and potential uncertainty of understanding how to go about fixing it. He is going to fast as well, except this time it's going to say Nehemiah fasted and prayed and wept 4 days. And so as he is doing that, we're going to also get a description of what he prayed to God, as he is going to go what seems to be maybe a step further than Ezra, and not only confessing the sins of the people in general, but he's going to say, even I and my father's house have participated in the sins that have gotten us to this point. And beyond that, he's not going to mix words and make a generalized confession. He is specifically going to cite the part of God's law that they have violated, but he is also going to ask God to remember the part of the law that says if the people return to him, he will return them to where they should be. Not only physically being in the land, because they're back in the land now, but returning to the land and getting out of the pattern of failure that they have already gone back to. And so he is going to ask God for 2 specific things. 1, give me success before this man, and 2, show me some mercy, because it seems like he is talking about his plans in the next chapter to go before King Artaxerxes and ask for his mercy one more time, to have another one of his officials leave to try to fix what's going on in Israel. And understand the way in which this seems to be an unnecessary risk, as it seemed good to title this chapter, because understand that no matter how many officials from Israel have risen up in the kingdom of Persia, as he is going to acknowledge in this prayer, we are still just slaves. And I don't think there's any PTO, pay time off, in slavery, at least the word in describing that. And so he is having to not only go to the king to ask for time off that he's never guaranteed to get, he's going to be asking for more resources in a situation where the king has already gone into his own pocket to help move Israel forward in a situation where, like we said, they're still mired in failure. And so it is dangerous enough to ask for a little bit of time off. I remember my mom telling me when I was in school, look, I don't mind coming over to your school, but don't let it be because you got in trouble. That's one day. He is asking for a leave of absence in a situation where he is just a slave, even if he is a slave with a nice job. And so in order to intercede on behalf of Israel, he is asking for time off that he is not entitled to, and more money in a situation where the king has already given them enough. Understanding all that, help me realize at least a couple of things. 1, God willing, in good times, may we be the kind of people who allow God to guide us out of the kind of decisions that require others to take on unnecessary risk to either bail us out or get us out of trouble. And on the other hand, understanding that King Artaxerxes didn't have to let Nehemiah go anywhere. May we be the kind of people who ask God to help us develop that character portion of high IQ, high character, so that beyond simply being talented, people in a position to help us are eager to continue to give us opportunities, even when either we or the people around us don't necessarily deserve another opportunity.